name's Nikki. I'm studying Latin American women in visual culture.
Yeah!
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body and creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer.
Yeah!
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice.
Yeah!
I'm Joyce. I study decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics of resistance.
Yeah!
Victoria and I studied remembering or forgetting, navigating international conflict through collective memory.
Yeah!
Hi, I'm Fawn, and I study monstrosity, the subaltern praxis. Or should I say I created it?
Yeah!
Hi, I'm Nunyala. I'm studying living artfully, art as ritual therapy, and pathway to decoloniality.
Do we have jobs for that?
Yeah, it's called Starbucks.
Oh.
I came across this video 26 weeks ago, and I don't usually comment on videos, but when I do, I piss a lot of people off. I first was scrolling through these comments, and some of them are so crazy to the point where I have to share them. I do. They're all gonna make great baristas. Liked by author. All majors should be free except theirs. They should pay double. Crazy claim. I'm studying unemployment. Laughing emoji. Congrats. They now have generational debt and wasted their time. I also studied Latin American women in visual culture according to my browser history. First of all, crazy thing to say, an even crazier thing to admit on the internet. So you've told everyone now that you watch a lot of corn. Congrats. So I was like, you know what, fine. I'm gonna comment something on this because I think this is something that's important to me, and obviously people in this comment section are being haters. So let me add my own opinion. So I said these aren't their majors, rather they're specific areas of study that they focused on for a thesis. Now whether or not that's true or not is, I don't know. I don't actually know what school they go to. But mostly what I say this next part is what I really meant. People really love to hate on non-STEM majors, and it is showing in this comment section. I was pissed off. Rightfully so. But of course, people then had a lot of comments on what I said, such as university used to mean something, but the scam has been exposed, and these dumbasses didn't get the memo. You spelled dumbasses wrong, but okay. They are not going to get hired. They're troublemakers. Troublemakers. Companies run on actual hard work and brain that employees put in. Me, when I put my brain into my job, like, what are they, zombies? This person didn't even correct what I said. They just said pronouns in bio equals delusional. Thank you, James. Flag icon. This next one is, I see you feel offended. So what's your major? Let me guess. How shitting bricks on IG helps me cure my insecurities. Let me know if I guessed. A lot of spelling mistakes and also a few commas lacking there, but sure, whatever. And I had to physically hold myself back from responding to these comments because I am not someone to really start a fight. I don't really do that, but if someone provokes me and, you know, starts commenting stuff like this to my comment, I will fight back. I didn't this time though, because I was like, you know what, that's what they want. They want my attention. They want me to get angry and make me comment something like ugly and nasty to them. And I'm not gonna do that because I have better things to be doing, and also I don't care enough. But luckily there were some people that also commented things that were supportive of the woman in the clip, as well as just kind of calling out the negativity that was in most of the comments, such as these aren't majors, it's what they focused on in research, senior capstone, or final project. Some of y'all be loud, proud, and wrong.
Yep.
Tell me you don't have an advanced degree without telling me. Not you thinking their topics for their thesis are a problem. And then this one is, that's why this country is in its current state. People think these types of studies are useless, and now we have a bunch of Dwights with no cultural or intersectional nuance making laws and destroying protections because they feel threatened by diversity and education. Well said. And of course, I do want to comment on some of the comments that were like, oh, people have obviously never gone to college, they don't have a degree. I do think that education in and of itself is something that is very classist, and obviously people who can afford it do get it more times than people who cannot afford it. And that is not me calling out these people and being like, you guys are broke and don't have college degrees, because that's not what I'm saying. It's more of, why are you hating on other people for getting education in something? Why does what they are majoring in matter to you so much? And finally, I actually came across a comment from one of the women in the actual video. And she said, thank you everyone for your comments. I'm now working in museums/galleries across New York City and beyond 2 years after this degree. I do not have a trust fund, and neither of my parents went to college, and I'm funding my life completely alone with my job. I'm sorry that so many of you have no passion, got your careers just for the money, and are now suffering from this failing economy with nothing to show for it. Heart emoji. And she really clapped y'all over the head because she's thriving. She made something that she was passionate about into a job and is very happy in it, and I'm so glad to hear that she is thriving. But my point with discussing this video and other videos similar to this is that they kind of revolve around this whole sphere of people hating on humanities, arts majors, and also the social sciences. Although those are a little bit different, they kind of fall into this area where they're not STEM and therefore are looked down upon. Because it is no secret that some of these majors are heavily looked down upon, even if they're not as specialized as the ones that I showed in the video, due to a variety of reasons, such as being viewed as less valuable, being an easy major compared to other ones. And of course, we can't ignore the fact that humanities and arts majors have largely been more representative of women because they are the areas where women were allowed to gain an education in earlier on. And also universities offered these courses earlier and were the main parts of founding universities. Therefore, because women make up more of a majority in arts and humanities majors, it makes sense that they are then viewed as less valuable because they are more of a woman-led program.
How do people always find a way to demean the humanities while uplifting STEM? Why are you calling your education silly? Trends like these might seem harmless, but they highlight a societal bias that devalues the humanities and ties that devaluation to femininity. This isn't just about a joke, it's about what the joke reveals. The humanities are often dismissed as soft or easy, partly because they're associated with femininity. Women dominate this field, and since femininity is undervalued, so are the disciplines tied to it. STEM, seen as masculine, rigid, and logical, is deemed more worthy. Intelligence, too, has been masculinized, with intellect and femininity being treated as having an inverse relationship. I mean, think about how bookworms in films are visually communicated to be intelligent via their lack of traditional indicators of femininity. This perception isn't just outdated, it's wrong. Women have reigned in higher education and earned more degrees than men for decades. But society clings to this idea that STEM is inherently superior because it's seen as tougher, more logical, more masculine. The humanities aren't lesser, they're different. They teach critical thinking, creativity, empathy, skills essential in every aspect of life, even STEM. Let's not devalue or apologize for studying what we love, and instead challenge the biases surrounding them.
So we can chalk some of this up at least to sexism. And it is videos such as the one previously shown, where that person dismisses these women's accomplishments and hard work because they view these jobs or these degrees that they've gotten as useless and not adding any value to society. There are also a plethora of other articles, videos, you name it, all discussing similar themes such as you should change your major, most regretted college majors, and even most useless college majors, which all unsurprisingly list majors such as journalism, communications, sociology, education, English, and philosophy as useless and suggest ditching these for higher paying STEM fields. In his article, The Humanities Are Being Neglected in American Universities, Neil Motto points out that these videos, articles, and statements are not only intellectually dishonest, but also knowingly perpetrating capitalist propaganda. It is also worth talking about that the number of humanities degrees that have been awarded drops each year because from 2012 to 2020, it has dropped by 25%. And as I stated earlier, you would never guess what the cause of all this is. I'll give you a few seconds to think of it. If you guess capitalism, you're correct. Because, of course, capitalism has its claws in every part of our lives that is ultimately not doing so great right now, and hasn't been for a very long time. Because capitalism has arbitrarily assigned value to certain tasks by awarding it more or less money, it has pushed people to view the jobs that bring in more money as therefore more valuable. But when I personally think of jobs that are the most valuable and have a large importance in society, it's funny to think that they actually are some of the least well-paid jobs out there. Ones that come to mind are educators, some of the most criminally underpaid people ever. Speaking from personal experience, I'm not a teacher myself, but my mom is a teacher. She has taught at the junior high school, and college levels, and she is incredibly qualified for her job. One of the best teachers I have ever seen, and I know I'm biased in that, but I'm not kidding. And all teachers are brilliant. I know some people will like more than others, yada, 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 but overall, these people have dedicated their lives to helping educate children and people and allowing what we have going on now to even exist because people have been educated. My mom works more hours than she's paid for, and she makes pretty much below minimum wage. She spends probably on average 12 plus hours a day for her job, whether it be actually at school and also going home and planning lessons, grading, all that kind of stuff. And she is, as I said before, criminally underpaid. Other jobs I can think of are social workers, incredibly important to society and how we as humans function, very underpaid. Nurses as well. And of course, there are so many others. And although not all of these professions are directly tied to arts and humanities majors, there is kind of this idea that value is dictated by how much money you make, when that's obviously not correct by some of the examples I just provided. Because there is a lot of correlation between well-paying jobs and STEM majors, because a lot of the times they go directly into that line of work and they are much better paid professions than others. Trust me, I have had a lot of conversations with friends and not really even family, but just other people who are STEM majors talking about how I will never make money because I am not studying a STEM major. And it's a hard conversation to have because it's pretty much you having to defend yourself and your choices and your passions and your interests to someone who sees money as the most valuable thing that you can earn for a job. And a lot of the reasons that humanities majors and stuff do not go into professions that necessarily make more money, which is a problem, but also that should not really deter you from pursuing your passions, is that humanities majors do not feed directly into jobs. Oftentimes, they do not have a direct path. It's a lot easier for someone who, let's say, majors in engineering and then goes directly into an engineering job. It's a direct pathway. A lot of the time, that is not accessible for arts and humanities students. And as pointed out by one of the people in one of the earlier comments that I showed, one of the greatest problems, and a lot of the reason why so many problems are being perpetrated right now, is because people lack an understanding for other people and for the world around them. They lack cultural and intersectional nuance, and therefore institutions that are in place to increase education and to help people are being attacked because they are seen as a threat to these other people who don't appreciate them. Because the opposite of the humanities is ignorance. Having an understanding of the world, people, institutions, and systems around you is very important and allows you to intake information in a critical and observational way. Critical thinking depends on the humanities. In the article, Why Humanities Majors Aren't the Easy Choice, Eloise Krauss states that the true power behind the humanities is that they are the ones to reach into the minds of these people who created art even thousands of years ago, fostering a form of human connection impossible with any other medium. The humanities play an incredibly important role in how we view each other and ourselves and our place within society, and also how society plays a role on people. I think if we lacked that understanding, problems would be even more rampant than they already are. And the thing is that STEM majors and humanities are not as disconnected as people think. They're actually highly dependent on one another. Many jobs and ways of thinking combine both aspects. Both aspects are needed to lead a fulfilling life. There's a reason why engineering students are forced or encouraged to take ethics classes, because they have to be aware of what they are building and how it will affect people and environments and everything else. Or they simply have to fulfill a gen ed requirement. And it's kind of funny to think that whenever I've talked to students who are in STEM fields and then having to take ethics classes, a lot of the times, and I'm not saying everyone, this is something that is not a blanket statement for all STEM people, a lot of them will say that they hate that class, that it's so stupid and stuff like that, yet they will struggle through it even though they claim that humanities classes are easier. It's not making any sense. Just for some context on kind of where I fall into all these different categories, I am a social science major. Pretty much I'm studying law, societies, and justice, and I will earn my bachelor in arts. I have grown up in a family that is very STEM focused, and not in a bad way, but in a fact that my dad is an aerospace engineer, majored in engineering when he was in college. My mom received her master's in math and science, I think. She is also a teacher, as I said before, and my brother is currently a senior in high school, but is looking to do either like civil engineering or nuclear energy engineering. So a lot of math focus and engineering focus in my family. But that doesn't mean that I have ever felt like my passions and what I want to pursue is any less than what my family has. They've all been very supportive of me and what I want to pursue, which is something that I know not everyone can say. I have met quite a few people who wanted to pursue English or anything not STEM related, yet their family has forced them to either become a doctor or become an engineer because either they see that as more valuable or it makes more money. And it also is worth saying that social sciences are kind of in between arts, humanities, and STEM. I would personally classify it as closer to arts and humanities than I would STEM, but there definitely are some STEM ways of thinking and critical analysis that plays a large role in that I would say is very included in social sciences. I personally was studying law. I realized that as soon as I kind of decided that I wanted to do law, I actually gained a lot more understanding from people who were viewing my major because they see law as kind of a more well-achieving and better profession or way or path to follow because it makes a lot of money. Some lawyers make a lot of money, which of course I actually am not pursuing any of those lawyer positions. I am looking to be at the current state either an immigration attorney or a public defender, which are some of the more underpaid professions in law, but the ones that I am the most passionate about. Needless to say, the arts and humanities and the social sciences are all very important and should not be devalued. I think that's kind of what I've been saying with all of this information. And if you are considering one of these majors, please do not let anyone tell you that they are not worth it or that they are useless or that you should pursue something else. It is okay if you yourself change your mind and decide, you know what, I actually want to do this. But there are some things that people will try to tell you that it's not worth it, and you need to stay true to yourself and realize, you know what, no, I am passionate about this and I want to do this.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. He got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here.
There are jobs out there for all majors. You know, those people in that video were saying, oh, these women will get a job. They're all going to work at Starbucks. First of all, working a fast food job is not that bad. We need those people for the economy and for everything to work and for you to have food. So let's not devalue those jobs either by comparison. And also those women did go on to get jobs that they enjoyed with the passions that they had. And just because you aren't looking to be an engineer or a doctor or anything like that does not mean that your profession or what you are passionate about is any less valuable than anyone else's. We are all valuable in what we want to pursue. Hopefully, as long as it's ethical though. Some things are a little bit iffy. There's of course nuance and everything. But in general, most of your passions are very important. And I know when I say this that I'm coming from a very large place of privilege, but money is not always everything. And I am aware that as someone who has grown up with money, who lives in a middle class family, who has had the money to receive an education, and my parents make enough to support us, I know that for me, my main goal with getting a job is not to make a ton of money with it, but rather to help people, because that has always been my main focus. But I do understand for people who maybe have come from less money or who have not had the opportunity to put as much of their passion into their education because their main goal with education is to get a job that pays well. I completely understand that where you're coming from is that money is your main goal, and I will never devalue that. I think that comes from the ways that we've grown up and the ways that we value certain things. When you sometimes come from a place of not as much money, you therefore will search out a job that has more money because you want that life, and I understand that. I know that for me, money is not my main focus, and that is because I have always had it, and therefore it's not something that I've always been reaching towards. So I do understand that there's a lot of nuance there and that there's a lot of differing opinions based on how you've grown up and what you are searching for. And all college majors are important. I'm going to keep hammering this in because none of them are easier than the other. They all involve different skills, since as much as people look down on business majors, which sometimes it's warranted because they can be scummy, greedy people, they do a lot of practice in public speaking and working on charisma too, because they have to sell things to people. And personally, I would struggle at that. I am not a very good public speaker, even though I'm literally speaking into a camera right now. But around people, I'm not as good at speaking, and I would struggle at it. Same as a STEM person might hate an English class because they think it's easy, yet is actually something they would struggle at because they would maybe not be the best at analyzing poetry or a passage and then writing an essay on it. While someone who's maybe majoring in English or something in the humanities, art history, might struggle with some calculus because that's just not the way that their brain works. And that's okay. We all have different passions and we all have different things that we are good at. Therefore, we shouldn't be forcing everyone into this one area of you do math, do science, because not everyone is good at that. And that's okay. And STEM and humanities and arts and social sciences, all of these assignments that they have take different forms. As STEM is usually solving equations or doing lab reports, and humanities are readings and papers, and they differ in how they are graded as well. STEM assignments have a more objective grading scale because the answer is either correct or incorrect. If you build a bridge and it falls over, probably not correct. But humanities classes have more subjective answers that can be argued for, and I could go as far as to say that it is harder to get a good grade when the grading is subjective versus objective. So are the humanities really easier? I'm not saying that they're harder. I'm saying that they're probably on the same playing field and that people just sometimes do not want to recognize that. Needless to say, our society functions the way it does. And although there's a lot of problems right now, and there have been a lot of problems, and there's a lot of things that needs to be fixed, This would not be possible without everyone and their different passions. Arts and humanities majors are important because they focus on the human experience and the creations of humans when we are able to create things of beauty. There is nothing weak about wanting to study that. So just please, I don't really know how to end this. Please be aware that anything that you're passionate about that is ethical is worthwhile, and please do not let someone convince you that you should not pursue something that you really find an interest in. I know that I faced a lot of criticism sometimes for wanting to study history and gender, women's sexuality studies in college, and although I've kind of switched away from that because I've found something else that I'm passionate about, those are still very worthwhile things to study because they do play a large effect in the world. People who often criticize those are bigoted people who lack an understanding of those around them, so don't let them get to you. And don't let people who are just wanting to hate on everyone get to you either. So I just encourage you, and I'm obviously not telling you guys to do anything. If you just pursue what you want, I'm kind of just telling you to like do what you want and don't let other people play such a large role in what you decide to do with your life. It's your life after all. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want any more about this kind of stuff, I've kind of decided that I like to make videos mostly on either politics or things that I'm very passionate about. So I want to start making more videos that focus on that. So I have quite a few ideas. I am a political person. I am someone that will talk about that and will bring it up and will look at it very critically. So I want to just kind of start discussing that more. And if you guys want more of that, then you're in the right place. So thank you so much for watching till the end. I really appreciate it. If you could like, comment, subscribe, it means so much to me. I just recently passed 300 subscribers, which is crazy, and I really appreciate it. And there is just, I hope, so much more to come. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next video.